their animals also. So she has been, she's a clinical animal behaviorist working with dogs and cats at the same time. And I've worked very closely with her to understand how animals actually think, or, what is it that they require. So yeah, that's what she's been doing. And she's amazing at it. And I think she's one of the first ones to be a specific feline clinical behaviorist. So that's Amanda for us.
She's been in the field for over 8 years, and she's also the founder of the Animal Behavior Academy. In fact, she's hosted the first online kitty kindergarten and cat behavior webinar series. And she, has this philosophy that animals speak to those who listen. So happy to have her here. Would you like to introduce Rachita, Darshan?
Yeah. So Rachita, doctor. Mind you, her surname is Doctor. There has been a lot of confusion around that. But she is a certified nutritionist, feline and canine. I've personally worked with her on a few recipes. I mean, on Pets of Paradise, she's the one who's been helping us with gajar ka halwa to what all sweet dishes did not have sugar. Pre-warning to you guys. And she's very helpful on the community as well with putting up with bone broths to other kind of stews that could be used for your animals. So yes, that's Rachita for us. She is a certified feline and canine nutritionist.
Amazing. We have lots of questions about homemade meals and recipes and what to feed my cat and all of that. So we're going to head them all to Rachita. Next up is Ajay Arjun. He heads administration and CSR projects for CUPA, which is a 32-year-old NGO based out of Bangalore. And he's been working with the organization for the last 6 years. He also started the stray cat sterilization program in Bangalore city in 2017, and it has neutered over 4,500 cats till date, community cats. And one of the mandates is that you empower the people in the community to neuter cats at subsidized rates. So that's Ajay. Darshan, our next guest.
Right. So we have Laika Fernandez with us from Princely Paws. She is a certified behaviorist, but at this, and she has been working for, I think, more than donkey years. I've seen her working in the animal industry. She's worked with a veterinarian, she's worked with a behaviorist, she's worked as a pet sitter, and she, of course, does batch flower remedies for pets, and she is a whisperer as well. So I think over the period of more than 19 years, she has spoken to animals across the globe, and she connects with them. And like Vinda said, Amanda also believes animals talk to those who are ready to listen. She believes in the same thing. And I think I have even called Malaika at 12:01 and I'm like, okay, I'm not figuring this out. Can you ask the animal if he can, what is it that they want? And it's interesting to hear that perspective as to what we need to do for them. So yeah, that's Malaika. And all of them, I think, are very close friends to both of us. So safe hands.
Great. Okay, so let's start with the questions. We got over 125 questions. We've combined many of them because they were repetitive. We will be asking questions alternately to all the panel speakers. So we won't be focusing on any one category at once. It will all be a mixed bag. If at the end, at 6:30, if any of you believe that we've not answered any of your questions, which you've already filled out in the forms, please write them in the chat and we will be happy to take them up after 6:30. So the first question is for Dr. Samoz. And this is a common problem. How do you give medicines to a kitten who does not eat food laced with medicines? Okay, Dr. Samoz, you'll have to come online and answer this. Is she there? Or should we? Okay. So Darshan, can you just check? Maybe she's busy in some surgery. Okay, it's not allowing her to unmute, Darshan.
Oh, 1 second. You can ask the other questions. I'll till then figure with sure. Vinda, if you can ask the next question, I'll get Michelle and others, Amanda, I think, on board. Vinda, you're mute. Oh, I have to. Speakers, please do not unmute yourself. It will ask you to again unmute otherwise. Vinda, you are still mute.
This is funny. Okay. Yeah. So should we wait for Dr. Simos or can I ask the next question while she comes?
Please ask questions to at least
Okay.
Rachita, Malaika, and Ajay, Amanda, and
Okay. So let me ask a question to Dr. Rachita. I mean, Dr. Rachita, doctor. Okay. What is the ideal amount of food for a kitten and for an adult cat? And how many times a day should they be fed?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the ideal amount of food, sorry, was it cat? I was trying to get
For both
unmute.
for both a kitten and an adult cat, and how many times a day should they be fed?
Okay, so when you are looking at cats, ideally it's a very, when you're talking about adult cats, it could be anything from either 2 meals going up to about 4 meals, depending on what schedule works for you. When it comes to kittens, they need to be fed a lot more, maybe anything from a minimum of 4 meals going up to 6 to 7 meals, depending on how young they are. In terms of quantity of food, we are looking at an adult cat eating anything from 1/3 to half a cup of food per day. If you're looking at packaged food, this is average weight for, say, a 5 kilo cat. If you're looking at fresh food, it would be approximately 110 to 120 grams of food. Kittens would eat far more, anything from a quarter cup going up to a cup and a quarter a day, because they're in the growing phase. So they need a lot more calories and a lot more protein.
Okay, but in suppose as a first-time cat parent, you tend to rely a lot on commercially bought pet food, right? Which is your wet food packets and your dry food.
Yeah.
So, how does one distinguish or understand how much dry food to feed a kitten and how many packets of wet food to feed a kitten, and also for an adult?
So for this, you actually have to refer to the packing that's there on the back of the packets, because each of the foods are made differently. The calorie content of all the foods is different. So depending on what food is selected, they'll all have like a feeding guideline table, which will depend, which you have to go into the category of how old the kitten or the cat is, and along with their weight. And there will be an approximate range given that, say, 50 grams to 100 grams or 70 grams to 100 grams. And then a little bit there is trial and error to figure out exactly what the requirement for your specific cat is that falls within that range. A good benchmark would be to, say, do a week. One is, of course, depending on how much your cat eats. If your cat is leaving a lot of the food, then you know that you are overfeeding. And two, a second benchmark is you do a weekly weight check to see that, the weight's on track. You have an adult cat is putting on too much weight, then you know that you're overfeeding, so you need to hold back some of the food. If the cat's lost weight, then you need to up the food a little bit, because a lot of this depends on how much activity each cat does through the day as well. That's a very important factor also.
Okay. And in this case, if the cat has been started off on wet food, which is packaged, how do you switch to fresh food or homemade food? How does that transition occur?
So with cats, it's a lot trickier, to be honest, than it is with dogs, because cats tend to be very fussy to switch from packaged to home. But it really depends. The earlier you start, the better it is. If your cat is already on wet food, the switch to home cooked is actually easier. The switch from dry food to home cooked will be a little tougher and will be a little slower, but you can do it. Um, the idea is to do it in a stepwise manner. You introduce little bits of fresh food, say if it's just chicken broth, or little bits of chicken mixed in with their wet food. Say, even if you're starting with just 5%, and then as they're accepting it, you increase that 5% to 10 to 20, and so on and so forth over, say, a week, 10 days, 2 weeks also. Sometimes with some cats, it takes a couple months to make the switch overall. Also, keeping in mind their digestion, their gut. If you find that they're getting tummy upsets, you know you need to slow the process down.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it'll have to be a gradual process, getting them used to different tastes, different textures. You will have to figure out what's working for them. Does mince work? Do chunks work? Do they like the meat on bone? So all of that it's like a learning process, and each cat is different. So
Okay, so it's a subjective process and you can't really put a formula to it, basically. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Darshan, you want to ask the next question to Dr. Samoz if she's on? Is she available to speak?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Okay. So do I answer the kitten? You're asked about how we can get a kitten
Yes.
used to taking medication. So it's much
Yes.
easier to get your cat used to this when they are a kitten. So with kittens, it's normally syrups that you'll be giving. So one option is to gently burrito roll them. So that will be wrapping them in like a soft towel so that they're all four legs are covered up and only their head is out. And when that happens, you can just give them the syrup with directly in the mouth with a syringe. You try and do like just 2 drops at a time. If they're not allowing you to do that, then the other option is to put small amounts on their front paws because they hate their paws being covered in anything. So they lick the medicine off their paws. So
That's a
those
great
are the
idea.
you can also mix the syrup with a little bit of honey that helps it stick to the paws. So then it's easier for them to just it's not easy for them to shake it off basically. So they lick it off their
And
paws. Yeah.
what about powders or pellets, basically, which are, capsules? How do you deal with that?
So with capsules, you can do the same thing. That's burrito wrap them and then just open their mouth and give it to them. Otherwise, you get something called a pill popper, which I find very easy. But that's usually a two-person job. So one person will have to hold the cat and the other one will have to put the pill popper into their mouth. And it's just like basically like a sort of like a pitchkari sort of thing, like so you push the piston in and then the pill goes behind the tongue. So that's pretty easy to administer. Otherwise, if it's a capsule, you take the powder out of the capsule and you mix it with some honey and then the same thing. You put it on their paws or, you can even touch it to their nose. So they keep licking it off their nose and they'll have. What often happens is they'll froth a lot because they don't like the taste and you just shouldn't freak out when that happens. So get them used to it when they're a kitten. You can start maybe with some chicken soup in a syringe just so that they get used to that whole process of being given something with a syringe, so give them tiny amounts of chicken soup with a syringe so they know that it's not something to get stressed about. And yeah, and even positive reinforcement I suppose will help. Give them tiny amounts and then offer them a treat in between.
Okay. Very useful tips. I think this is one of the most stressful things to do with a cat, feed medicine, apart from cutting nails or giving a bath, all of which I don't know if it's as necessary as giving medicine. Okay, thank you, doctor. So the next question is for Amanda. How do you help an outdoor cat adjust to being an indoor cat?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this question quite heavily relies on the cat wanting to move in with you. Because a lot of times what happens is, you have cats that are living on the street that are actually really content there. And then you have people saying that, okay, I'm going to rescue you. But the cat actually didn't want rescued. They were just living their best life out there. So provided you have a cat that is now trying to kind of come indoors, I think one of the biggest issues that I've experienced with cases that I've done is the litter, transitioning over to litter. So initially, having some mud in the house in a tray, not for very long though, because, it like basically gets very moist and it can, be a breeding ground for bacteria. But eventually switching over to a litter that is very similar to sand. So you've got like your fine grain litter. And just overall, having like a schedule where, you've got a certain number of hours that the cat spends outside. And, generally with behavior, you'll get cats that are most active around dusk and dawn, because that's when prey is comes alive and like runs around and makes all kinds of noises. So mostly the cat will want to be outside where the action is at that time. So that's when you let them out and you call them back in, and you transition like that. It also helps to have a recall like a whistle sound that you train your cat to come back to. And that will basically be a sound made before meal times. So then you make the sound, you feed the cat, you make the sound, you feed the cat. And then as time goes on, your cat starts to kind of come back to that whistle sound. And these are just some things that you can do to make the process a little smoother.
Okay, this is a whole process. You have to lure the cat into your house.
Yes, trickery.
So, while I have you here, I think one of the most common questions everyone has repeatedly asked is, why is my cat pooping or peeing outside the litter box? And even if it is doing one of these two businesses inside the litter box, the other one is done outside. So, what is this whole issue?
Yes. Okay. It's definitely a more leveled, layered answer, but I'll try to just be brief. First things first, if this is happening, you need to go to your vet. The number of people that I've sent to Dr. Michelle, I'm just like, go, because it's very, very commonly either something medical that the cat is not expressing or showing in any other way. So you need to rule that out first. Secondly, if you notice, so you need to look at the pattern of the urination. Sometimes it helps to keep a diary where you know okay, my cat is going in this specific room, on this specific texture, and at this specific time. So these three things you need to have a good record of. If your cat is going on one particular texture only, for example, they're just pooping and peeing only on the couch, only on your bed, only on a pile of clean laundered clothes, things like that, you will find that this texture preference will generally tell you that the cat is not necessarily happy with the texture of their litter. And a good litter, a good way to test whether the litter is soft or not, is to use this part of your hand and just basically press it down on the litter. And if you feel something pokey, then you need to basically switch over to a litter that is softer on their paws. It's basically your cat's way of communicating that they want a different substance to go on. If you're noticing, it doesn't matter whether it's the floor, whether it's wood, whether it's marble, toilet, your bed, most probably this is related to communication. So cats will also urinate and defecate in order to communicate things to other cats. They have pheromone glands around their anal gland, and basically what happens is they will be leaving messages. Now this happens most commonly when you have an outdoor cat or a feral cat who's looking into your house if you're living on the ground floor. This could also happen if there is social stress in your multi-cat household itself. So once you kind of narrow down on your cause, that's when you can start addressing this, instead of just trying to throw solutions at it and just hope that the cat stops going. And the final point is that punishment will never ever work. Your cat does not know that they did something wrong. This whole aspect of right and wrong is a very human thing. Your cat has no clue. So I think that's a summary that I can give.
Sounds good. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. So narrow it down, and the first approach is to always go to a vet to rule it out, and then the other options. Got it. Okay. The next question is for Ajay. Ajay, how, this is also a very common question. How do you approach a cat, a stray cat or a community cat who is in distress? And how do you know when to rescue it?
When you say distress, you mean injured, or something similar?
Yes.
Okay. So firstly, I think the most important part of helping an injured cat is to ensure that you reduce the stress on that animal, because every feral cat, I'm assuming everybody must assume that every cat that they find is feral in nature. Feral meaning they do not have, they're not used to interacting with people. So the moment a person comes close to a cat while it's injured, it will increase the chance of whatever illness or ailment it's suffering from. So for example, if an injured cat is found, like a road accident, so as it is, the animal is in shock. So on top of that, if you go and handle the animal, it's going to cause a lot more stress, and the chances of recovery would like slow down to a certain extent. Uh, so the first thing a person needs to do is to ensure that they have either a box or a carrier in handy, and ensure that you use a cloth or you use something soft to ensure that you don't directly go and touch that animal. So you try to coax that animal inside a box or a carrier, and try not to uh, physically handle that animal, because touching a cat, actually cats are small mammals, so it touching them or handling them directly would translate in their minds that they're being predated upon. And we are larger mammals that operate around cats, so it's very important for us to assume that most cats are wild. Most cats are wild, even though they are domesticated. And it's important to handle all feral cats through this method that I explained. So try not to touch the cat directly, and try to push it into a box and ensure that the box or the carrier is covered. So that would be the best way to secure the cat. That's number one. And number two is immediately rush it to a nearest vet. Do not waste time looking for a non-profit organization. You can do that while you've already identified a vet close by, because the veterinary clinics are most likely open at a particular time. Say, assuming that the veterinary clinic is open, your cat, you find an injured cat in the night after 7 p.m. Most NGOs are shut after 7 p.m. So it's important to identify a veterinary clinic first and rush the cat to that veterinary clinic, because time is of essence. So you need to ensure that the cat's vitals and everything are stabilized as soon as possible, and the treatment that is required is administered, at least the preliminary treatment to stabilize the condition of the cat. And then while you're doing this, you can either admit it in the veterinary clinic if they have an admission facility, and then find a animal shelter uh, which will be able to accommodate a cat. So this is my answer.
Got it. Thank you, Ajay. Okay, next question is for Malaika. Now, this is more in terms of from the perspective of a cat and not a cat parent. So the question is, what does a cat look for in a cat parent or in a home that it would feel comfortable in? Malaika.
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. Over the years, with the number of animals that I have connected and spoken to, primary, we've got to recognize that animals are very, very wise and evolved beings, and that they're born with their sense of life purpose, unlike us. We struggle to know what our life purpose is, but every animal is born with that knowledge. So when an animal chooses a particular human being, whether you've adopted an animal, whether you've adopted a cat, or you've gone ahead and bought a particular breed of the cat, you've always have to acknowledge the fact that that particular animal has chosen the household that they're going to, because there are certain lessons associated or certain connections associated with that particular family, which the animal is aware of or the cat is aware of. So cats will primarily tell you, in the consults that I've had, if it's a multiple cat household, and if I'm connecting with the kitten to find out if they're going to be okay going into that particular house, along with speaking to the existing cats of the house. It's a consensus of sorts, a conference of sorts, where maybe the kitten will say, this is not the home for me. I want to go into a home where I'm going to be the only cat, or I want to go into a home where there's a child. So it's very, very specific, and it's very, very individual. It can't be tabled as a broad classification. It's very nuanced. It's very individualistic.
So how does one navigate this subjective, how do you know when it's right? How do you prepare if I'm going and, considering adopting a new cat?
Yeah.
What is it that I need to do? how do I prepare myself emotionally for making myself conducive to getting that cat home and make them feel welcome?
Okay, so the moment you decide, okay, fine, I'm going to adopt a cat or a kitten, and you go to meet the animal, the first thing to do is to not approach the animal yourself. If the animal has chosen you, the animal will wander off towards you quickly and settle into your lap, or maybe, headbutt you or rub you and acknowledge the fact that, okay, you are the human for me. If the animal is shying away from your touch, or if you're not getting the sense of familiarity that maybe you've known this animal from a very long time and that this animal is meant specifically for you, if you do not get that feeling, then you must know that that animal is not meant for you. We have so many lost animal cases that happen where cats walk out of a certain household after they're adopted. It's because the human has gone ahead and adopted, but the cat really doesn't want to stay with that particular human for whatever XYZ reasons that the animal may have. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And is there any way to know if a multi-cat household or a multi-pet household is conducive when adopting a new cat? Is there any sign or preparation?
Yes, there is. You primarily have a conversation, just as how I'm having a conversation with all of you here. You have a conversation with all of your cats one by one. Listen, I'm thinking about introducing this new kitten or new cat into the household, and what do you feel about this? And obviously, if your cat is just sitting and looking at you and not moving away, the cat is kind of approving. But if the cat quickly walks off, then you know that your animals are not really approving of the kitten being at home. A short way of knowing this is when you get when you get a kitten over at home to foster for a bit, and if your animals take to the cat really really quickly, then you know that they are accepting. But if they are not, then they'll just wander off, or they'll be quite a bit nasty or maybe aggressive towards the kitten or the new cat.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Malaika. So we'll get back to you after we ask some more questions to the others. Okay, so the next question is for Rachita. Do diets differ for different cats and different breeds? So is it different for Indies, Persians, or other breeds, or is there more or less similarity in what you feed and how much you feed?
Okay. So there's two ways of looking at this. When you consult a nutritionist, say, to get a very customized diet chart for your cat, each and every single thing is taken into consideration, whether it's their breed, their age, their lifestyle, their weight, what is the activity through the day, are they spayed or neutered. So, and literally every diet is customized for a particular cat. And there will always be certain differences from breed to breed, because each breed has their own individual needs. There are certain breeds that are predisposed to certain medical conditions. So it's always better to keep those things in mind beforehand as a preventative, so that you can try to avoid medical things in the future. So yes, everything, the breeds do make a difference and the diets would vary.
Okay. Also, could you suggest some recipes if one were to give homemade food to cats?
It's a little difficult to just suggest an
Or
offhand.
certain dishes?
Okay. No, so I could recommend ingredients would be a
Yes.
good way to start. So chicken is a pretty safe meat protein to start with. Cats would adapt better being their size, and if you were to consider what they would eat in the wild, they would always go for smaller prey, like you have chickens, you have quail, you have rabbits, because meats like mutton and beef, obviously they cannot prey on themselves. So they would be a little predisposed to starting off with chicken. They tend to love the smell of fish, even though it is not a natural food for them, because cats are essentially adapted or genetically adapted to be desert animals. So even though fish is not a natural food for them, they do tend to be very attracted to the smell of fish. So a small amount of fish or fish oil mixed into their food will definitely make a difference to get them to start eating. When you're looking at chicken, certain cuts like chicken thighs work better because they're higher in taurine, which is something that cats need from their food. It's a little higher in fat content as well. When you're looking at meaty bones, chicken necks, chicken wings work well for cats as well.
And do eggs also work if
Yes.
one is to,
Eggs,
especially for those who are vegetarian but eat eggs? Is that
correct,
something they can provide?
correct. Eggs do work well for cats. It's not an ideal primary source of protein, to be very honest, but eggs is something that you can give cats. It's good for cats. Um, along, if you are feeding a home cooked diet, the only thing is you have to be very careful that you ensure that it's a balanced diet. So it's not just about feeding just eggs or just meat, because even within that, you need to make sure that all the different important food groups that a cat needs. For example, one is the meat protein, two is bones, because calcium and phosphorus is very important, which they'll only get from bones. You need some amount of organ meat. So if you're feeding, say, chicken, for example, it's very important to include chicken liver and chicken heart as well. In particular quantities, a good quality fish oil, like a salmon fish oil, is also very important. So, and healthy fats. So, a little bit of skin also included in the chicken is very important. So, uh, it actually will do more harm than good if you just ad hoc start feeding tiny bits of stuff, randomly just eggs and nothing else, if your cat is on purely home cooked food. So it becomes very important to ensure that the cat's getting a balanced meal or balanced nutrition if it's a purely home cooked diet that the cat's following. Otherwise, going forward, there's going to be a lot of nutritional deficiencies and a lot of medical issues that will come up.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Rachita. It's so confusing. Dr. Rachita, doctor. Okay. Next question is for Dr. Simoes. What are the list of vaccinations when you get a new kitten, and what are the durations and gaps in which these vaccinations have to be administered?
So starting with the kitten, you can start the first vaccine when they are 6 to 9 weeks of age, and you'll start with the TriCat vaccine. And you'll have to booster this 3 weeks later. So you'll give the same vaccine again, like you do in dogs. So that will be your TriCat booster. And 3 weeks after that will be your rabies. So this will be the 3 vaccines that any cat will get in their first year. Then both these vaccines have to be boosted when they are a year and 3 months or so. And then again when they are 2 years and 3 months. And after that, if it's an indoor cat, you only need to give the vaccines every 3 years. And some people even don't give it every 3 years, and it's kind of okay, because you have to remember that the TriCat is only protecting them against 3 viruses. So it's not going to protect your cat against all the viruses that are out there. And if your cat is only at home and not coming in contact with outside cats, then the rabies is not really so essential. And once your cat crosses 10 years of age, it's better to not vaccinate them because it can do more harm than good. If it's an outdoor cat, then it's really important to do it every year if you can. And most NGOs will do the vaccines when they are neutering them. So they'll at least have that 1 year of coverage.
Okay. And once, this is something that someone has asked, even though my cat has been vaccinated, she bites me a lot, and is it dangerous, even if it's playful biting?
No, it's not really dangerous, but if it's a deep bite, then you'll have to get a tetanus shot because you'll have to treat it as any other open wound. But if your cat does have fleas, first of all, you should get rid of the fleas. But if you have a bite from your cat and that flea dirt happens to go in your bite, then you can get a disease called cat scratch disease, which is a really painful disease where all your lymph nodes get swollen and stuff. So that's more of a risk rather than catching rabies or something like that. And with any bite from your cat, you really have to wash it really well with soap and water because cats' mouths contain a lot of bacteria. So when they bite you, what often happens is that it will close on the surface, and then a few days later, you'll have a lot of pus building up inside, which is what happens when cats bite other cats as well. So just have to really wash it really well. And every day when you're cleaning up your bite, just squeeze it from the boundaries. So that if there's any pus inside, it will come out.
Okay, so on taking off from this answer, 2 more questions. One is there any way to get rid of ticks or fleas permanently? And what are the signs of the cat having them? And secondly, what to do about the bacteria in the mouth and gingivitis? How does one cure that?
Okay, so with ticks and fleas, there's no permanent solution, but you get something called a spot on, which is a small tube that you have to apply on your cat's neck. So this can be done once a month if they're outdoor cats. You get some which can be applied once in 3 months. If it's an indoor cat, they shouldn't be getting fleas anyway. So you'll only have to do that the first couple of months after you rescue a new cat if they've got fleas. And ticks are very rare in cats. But if they do have fleas, you'll see them really itchy, and when you're patting them and you're moving the fur back, you'll find like this little granular stuff on the skin and coming off on your fingers. And if you crush that between your nails, the granular stuff, you'll find like a dark red sort of substance coming out. So that's basically flea dirt, which is the poop of the fleas. So that's how you know that your cat has fleas. So
And dirty
one
ears.
of and dirty ears, yeah. So a spot on like Fiprofort or Stelamec or Advocate or Revolution, these are all good options to use for your cat. The first time you do it, it's better to do it at a vet so you see how it's done. And once you know how to do it, you can do it at home. There are some spot-ons which take care of worms as well. So you can talk to your vet about that. There's something called Broadline, which you can use maybe even just twice a year, which will take care of all your internal worms as well as your fleas and ticks. And if it's a really bad infestation, then you can consider giving your cat a bath. So a bath is a whole different thing because it's quite stressful for a cat, and I don't recommend giving your cat a bath if it's healthy. But if they are infested with fleas, then it's not a bad idea. And you can use a cat safe shampoo, or you can take them to a groomer who's good with cats and get the bath done. As for gingivitis is a whole disease by itself, but it can be prevented to a large extent by brushing your cat's teeth. Now, I know that's what a textbook thing says, but I'm not able to brush my own cat's teeth myself because it's quite difficult. But if you start from a young age, if you can't actually use those little baby brushes that you get, you can just put some gauze on your finger and then just wipe the back teeth with it. Maybe twice a week is good enough. Also using dehydrated treats is a good idea, like naturally air dried treats, like whatever you get, like quail wings and things like that, and turkey necks. So when they chew on these sort of bones, that gets rid of a lot of the plaque, and the plaque is what leads to the gingivitis in a non-infectious case of gingivitis. And someone's asked about how to clean ears. Just have to hold them, burrito wrap them, and a little cotton. You can use an ear cleanser like Epiotic, or else a little bit of coconut oil and just get in there and clean it out. A lot of cats like their ears
I
being
love cleaning
cleaned.
ears. I love cleaning cats' ears. It's so therapeutic.
Just about to add that keeps cleaning through those ears every time I meet.
Yeah. Anyway, that I mean, we figured it out. He's been given spot on now. Okay, next question is for Amanda. Very, very common question. Can cats be trained to walk on leashes and go outdoors?
Right. So yes, to answer the question, can they? Yes, they can. But the question is like, should they? You really need to look at multiple factors because taking your cat out for a walk is quite risky. Cats are very good at taking out, the harness and like sprinting just like that. First things first is we are like, if you are from like a busy city, crowded city, lots of cars, lots of people, obviously the risk factors increase. A lot of the videos about cat leash and harness training that is available on the internet is majorly from the US, the UK, where things are very quiet. You've got this little backyard garden that you're taking your cat to, and you have like part of it netted and stuff like that. So if you are planning to do that in like a city type space, you need to accompany your leash and harness with a backpack. Which is like your cat travel carrier of sorts. And I'm saying backpack because it would be easier to, just have it on your back, the ones that are designed, for cat travel. And that way, your cat has like a nice safe space that they are going to be like that smells like home, and that they can basically sit and observe everything from. And a good cat carrier or a good cat backpack will not be the transparent ones. that is a very human design, which we have created to, show off our cats in a way, and that's not the ones you want to use. You want to use the ones that have the anti-scratch mesh and that are a little darker. So it gives your cat, that sense of safety even while you're traveling outside. And inside the bags, there should also be like a clip. So I think Bark Butler does a really good bag, and they have like a gym bag which is extendable and stuff like that. Also with your harness and your leash, you should also just go into it assuming that your cat can get out of it if and when they want to. And especially this comes down to scary situations where if you're walking your cat and they say they hear the footsteps of like a stranger, if you're doing it like in your building, or if they hear a bark, or if they hear like some car honking. The leash is literally just giving you, like, buying you just a little bit more time for you to catch your cat, or like basically like kind of keep them safer. So when you're also traveling, you must take like a nice big towel with you so that you can wrap and pick up your cat as and when needed. So yes, you can train your cat to walk on a leash, but you must have all your like risk management protocols in place.
Okay. One important question, which is very specific to a person because she's really worried, is that she recently adopted a kitten, 7 months now, so almost a teenage cat. But she keeps going out quite often, and she's quite worried because she's not sure if she might be attacked by other dogs or cats. So, how does one encourage a kitten or a cat to stay more at home, especially in this case where you don't know where they're going?
Right. I mean, so it sounds like you're describing like an indoor-outdoor cat that like basically has a lifestyle of, living in and out. So I mean, like very bluntly, this is kind of one of the risk factors that come with a cat that is living part of their life outdoors and then coming back home. There is no way to know that okay, my cat's going to be safe at all times. The outdoor world, you can't control anything that goes on there. Even people like ask me questions like should I put a GPS collar on my cat? Is there like a way to track them and stuff like that? But at the moment, I don't know if any of the other panelists are aware of GPS collars that are more cat friendly, because like they're really heavy. Some people put air tags on their cats, and the cats are just like kind of weighed down with it. And also a person can just easily kind of take that off. Or even the collars, if your cat is wearing a collar and is going outside, it needs to be a breakaway collar, because they will climb, they will jump, and in case it gets caught on something, you can't have the cat kind of stuck there. It has to be one that can break away. So the thing is that you need to kind of decide, like just basically kind of answering this question, that you need to decide whether you are able to keep your cat yeah, exactly. It is a thing, so you can microchip your cat, but they'll have to go to the vet, and the vet will have to scan the chip. It's not something that you can track on your phone. I was just responding to Devika. So the thing is that like you kind of have to decide, either you're going to keep your cat indoors and then everything that is going to happen to them, and you're in control of like their safety and their lifestyle, or you're going to have a cat that comes in and out, and that's kind of a risk that you will have to live with. And if you are planning to keep your cat indoors, making sure that their environment is enriched, making sure that they have appropriate scratch posts, hiding places, vertical spaces, good playtime, just abilities to like express natural cat behavior. And like obviously you're taking care of their health and all, but like basically just are you able to do that? So I think that should answer your question.
I hope. Okay, thanks, Amanda.
Sorry,
okay,
just
next,
one last thing before like you move on. You had asked the question to Dr. Michelle about the medicine giving. So you also get, so she spoke about pill poppers, which is the like a pipe thing that goes in, but you can also use pill pockets. They are a little less available in India, but if you are willing to spend a little bit, it's basically by this company called Greenies. Where it's a very, very sticky kind of like laddu type of like dough. And what happens is you break that off and you put the pill in it and you cover it, and the cat can't like pull that apart in their mouth. So my cat and my dog, they're very good at like, they just do a little gargle thing. The pill comes out, the treat goes in. That's normally how it works. But with these pill pockets, it's so sticky and like it just coats it completely that it goes in. Second thing is with powder. You can also get these empty gelatin capsules on Amazon, and basically you put the powder in that. If it's a bitter tasting thing, so Dr. Michelle said that your cat will foam up because it's bitter. They think they're being poisoned in the process. It's something that they want to get out of their system essentially. So when you put that in the capsule, and then you wrap the capsule in that, and you can also use your burrito method, it goes in without the cat feeling that bitter powder or that bitter taste. So that also might help.
Got it. Oh, one very important repetitive question, quickly. Why is my cat scratching the sofa, and how to avoid?
Okay. Right.
In two lines, just yeah.
2 lines. Okay, your cat needs to scratch their couch. Okay, like not okay, maybe not your couch, but they need to scratch something. It is an absolute need. Very quickly, your cat's paws have glands, which basically are pheromone glands, which leave like a smell of sorts. I'm just going to use the word smell. And it basically, when your cat scratches objects in their environment, it helps them feel safe. So if you are punishing your cat for scratching the couch, or like, kind of thinking that, I'm going to spray my cat with water and this problem will go away, it's not going to happen. You need to provide alternative surfaces, because this is a need. The same way your cat needs to eat and drink and play, they need to scratch. So whether it's your couch or a 300 rupee scratch post, you can choose.
One way to avoid damage in your couch is to actually pick the right cloth. And I have this at my home. So my sofa and my the armchair, it has this specific microfiber cloth, which does not, the threads don't come out at all, and the cat can scratch. It's been doing this for 2-3 years, nothing has happened. So maybe change the cloth on your upholstery. That is probably a better solution than telling your cat or getting frustrated at your cat to not scratch the couch.
Yeah. And even if you can't like change your like all the furniture, you can take these scratch posts that are kind of like cloth. So it's a scratch post that you would put on a wall, and you take that and you get these twisty things on Amazon. It's called like a twisty nail. Like it's like a round, like a corkscrew thing with a plastic like tap, and then you just screw that like to cover that part of the couch. And then when the cat scratches it, they're not scratching your couch, they're scratching the jute thing that's been like put on it. So like that's also like an option.
Yeah, great. Okay, this is a very important solution for everybody. Okay, thanks, Amanda. So moving on to Ajay. Recurring question about neutering and sterilization that people keep asking. I have a male cat, should I get it neutered? And this is for pets. And apart from pets, how do we get our community cats in our buildings neutered? What is the process? How to go about it? How do we even catch them, because they're so elusive? And where can we find the resources, or whom to contact in case of subsidized neutering, because these things can be very expensive and there could be many cats to take care of. So could you please explain, both in terms of a pet and our community cats, importance of sterilization?
Yeah, I have to let you unmute. Also, can I just add one question to that, Ajay?
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself, so you'll have to just quickly repeat that. And before you repeat that, I have another tip, adding on to your cat scratching the furniture. Something that I use is double-sided tape, transparent double-sided tape, where you do not want cats to scratch. They actually hate sticky stuff. So you just put double-sided tape on areas where you don't want them to scratch, and they will not go there. So and it's harmless, and it just repels them from going and scratching stuff, because the more you try not to get them to do something, they will do something. They will do that only. So you just have to find jugaad ways to get your cat not to do it. So take that double-sided tape. It's a very cheap thing that you can get everywhere. Put it on your sofa. It might look weird, but it's better than having your sofa scratched out and buying a new one every quarter.
Okay. The question is, and Darshan, you can add to it as soon as I finish. Someone asked, should I get my male pet cat neutered? Is it important? And secondly, how to do the same thing for our community cats, because they're so elusive. They may be feral, difficult to catch. No, as a first time, someone who loves cats, but I don't have any experience dealing with sterilizing community cats, what is the entire process, where to find subsidized neutering because it can be very expensive. So both in terms of a pet and community cats, the importance of sterilization and how to go about it.
Okay. So, so I'll start with your first question, which is it important to sterilize male cats? It's important to sterilize all cats, um, whether irrespective of male and female. And the reason is that if you have an unsterilized cat of either gender, they will attract the opposite gender and you'll have more cats coming in. So that's a very simple reason. There are multiple reasons, but this is a reason that I give out to the public who come and ask me why I need to sterilize the male cat. And number two is male cats actually spray a lot. So they spray meaning mark their territories. So if you actually only sterilize the females, you'll just have cats spraying on your doors, spraying all your cars, spraying everywhere, and male cat urine stinks. So then you'll have because a lot of people come and complain to us that cats are peeing on my front door, on my mats, on my car seat, on my bike seat covers, and all of that. And it's very important to get all of these cats sterilized because this is one of the issues that it will control. It won't cut it completely, but it will control. Um, and coming back to how to catch all of these elusive cats, there are multiple ways that you can do it. So you'll have to follow a step-by-step process. Number one is if you're living in a gated community, it's important that you uh, identify all the cat feeders in your community because you need a population assessment. You need to figure out what is the population of stray cats in that community. By doing that, you will be able to assess what would be your budget for sterilization. I'm just assuming that the budget is an X amount that a vet is charging. I'm not even using an NGO because I don't want to say that there are NGOs in every city that people attending on this call are. So let's just like go to basics. Number two, the next step is to segregate the friendly cats and the feral cats. So friendly cats can be the cats that actually approach you for food and you can pet them. And the feeders will be able to assess whether the cats are friendly or feral. And then you work with all of these people in your community. And then based on this assessment, you take cages or carriers and you try to feed the cats in these carriers for maybe 2, 3 days and they get used to going into these carriers and you don't shut it. You just put the food inside and they go inside. And then you shut it on the day or the day before you plan or couple of days before you plan to get them neutered. So this is for the friendly cats. The feral cats will only you can only trap them through trap cages, which actually we have in Cuba. We've actually got a lot of trap cages which we give out to community members. Or you can make your own trap cage. You get those blue cages. I wish I could show it to you, but I'm just saying you get those blue cages with the doors. So what you can do is you can actually put the food inside, stay far away, tie a string to the door and pull the door shut as soon as the cat goes in. So this is one way of, trapping a cat if you do not have access to a trap cage. And then the next step would be to identify a non-profit organization. In Bangalore, it's CUPA. In Bombay, there are many non-profits, Feline Foundation and so many other non-profits doing cat sterilizations. And in other cities, there are either veterinary clinics or non-profit organizations for animals doing sterilizations, but you'll have to find either, and you'll have to approach a veterinary clinic that would be willing to neuter these cats and negotiate a rate at which they would be willing to neuter multiple cats in a row. Actually, that's how I started this sterilization program. back in the day, maybe 8, 9 years ago, we did not have a robust sterilization program in any city. And we actually approached multiple veterinary doctors and veterinary clinics based on their reviews on how good they are with cats. And then we talked to them and negotiated with them and said, hey, we are doing this, we're helping these stray animals, but we are not able to fund or pay. It costs anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 for neutering a cat in a private clinic, uh, plus boarding charges and all of that. So we kind of negotiated a price that the veterinary doctor would only charge us under this program. And that would guarantee that many number of cats going into his clinic for surgery. Uh, and also he would understand that because of the numbers, large numbers, he would be willing to reduce the price by maybe 30%. So we were able to do that, and then you crowd fund that amount, and then you get the job done. So at the end of the day, our objective is to get at least 70% of the population neutered. Uh, and I mean, if you can get 100% of the population neutered, it's great, but 70% of the population needs to be controlled in order for it to be successful. Because after you do 70% of the population and make sure that every cat's ear is notched, that means there's a small V cut on the ear, because we get a lot of cats that come in that do not have the ear notch, but they're already neutered. And we follow a very robust process when we actually catch these cats, where they undergo minimum stress, so we don't actually uh, handle them physically. So what we do is we directly get them into a physical examination after they are sedated, and then they go onto the table for surgery. Uh, so what happens is that we've seen so many cats, especially female cats. Male cats, we would get to know whether it's neutered or not. But female cats, we've seen neutered female cats come back because there was no ear notched. And this would have been done by some good Samaritan who would have had good intentions, but then this cat, the person must have moved out, and then the cat must have continued living in that community. So somebody must have seen, oh, this cat's ear is not notched, or this cat's a female cat, so I need to go and get this cat neutered again. So then the cat goes in onto the table, and then the vet tries to look for uh, what the organ, and then they're not able to find it. So it becomes a very stressful process. So it's very important to notch your community cat's ears while they're neutered. And you can request your private veterinarian in case you're not doing it. Or if you're even doing it with an NGO who hasn't done a large community cat sterilizations, you can request them to get this done. So this is very important. So yeah, so this is a process. I have a PPT, so if anybody is interested to know this process, because it's a lot of information, I can send you that PPT, and you can go through that PPT and then follow that process. It has a robust process set there. And a lot of people in Bangalore do this community cat sterilizations through that PPT. And we are doing close to 150 to 200 cats every month because of this community driven program. So yeah, so that's my answer.
Okay, so if people do want to get the PPT, how should they?
I
Could
can
you
share.
guys just?
Yeah,
Uh,
Ajay, you could share it with Vinda or me, and I think we'll
yes.
put it on to that place. If
Yeah,
anyone can ask, or we can forward it to them. No problem with that.
Oh, all right. So yeah, so I'll share it with either of you.
Thanks. That was really helpful, Ajay. I mean, cats, we have no idea what I had to go through, so that was really helpful with that.
But surprisingly, it's easier to get cats neutered than dogs neutered. It's less resource centric, where you have less need for human resource to actually carry out this whole process, and it's very cost effective. But because people don't understand cat behavior and cats in general, people kind of complicate it in their head and say that it's very impossible and cats are elusive and cats are very difficult to get. But if you have the right knowledge and resources, it's very easy to, carry out this entire process single-handedly. You don't even need another person to help you. You can do it single-handedly.
Wow, that's actually, I mean, I had the same thought that, oh my God, how would cats come out? Because I think dogs, you could just lure them with the treats, is what you think, but they are kind of more difficult, I agree.
Yes, yes.
Right. Can I actually, Vinda, if you're okay, can I just ask the next question to Malaika?
Yes, yes.
Thank
I think Darshan, I can't hear you. Mute.
Yeah. So Malaika, I wanted to ask you is that we have been discussing about scratching, we've been discussing about neutering, and we've been discussing about behavior like going out of the house, coming in. Some dogs want to stay back. And even in our community, there was one lady who was being troubled by the neighbors for her cat going out. So she wanted the cat to be at home a little more. And while Amanda has explained it from a behavior perspective, I would like to understand what is the cat going through. Especially from the perspective of neutering, because there are two versions to it. Some of them have told me that, I mean, not like I don't agree to neutering, but the fact that where people start arguing about let them be in their natural state and why are we deciding for them if they should have it or not, like we are just trying to humanize them. These are the debates also there around the conversation. So I would like to understand, because you come with an expertise of being a behaviorist as well as somebody who's communicated with cats, I do wish to understand their perspective.
Okay. So cats can simply want to go out of their homes because, they want to. It's something that they want to do to spend their time, to explore the environment. Yes, as Amanda said, you could enrich their environments indoor, whereas excessive scratching is concerned where a cat will specifically target a certain section in the house or a couch in the house. Change of fabric, yes, helps, but as a communicator, I would go ahead and ask the animal what is causing them to indulge in that behavior so excessively, and what is it that I can do to help them change that behavior. Very often, sometimes, excessive unwanted behaviors are linked with their human in question. Sometimes the cat will indulge in certain behaviors simply because they want to call out their human on some aspect of their behavior that they would like their human to change, because it's going to have mental, physical, or emotional repercussions on their human's well-being, and that is something which they want changed. Another angle to it is, yes, I've communicated with cats that go outdoors and meet with maybe neighbors that aren't that kind enough, and me and the human have actually sat down, negotiated, discussed it along with the animal, and we've come at a third party solution which benefits the cat as well as the human, where the cat will give certain directives. Okay, fine, I agree to go out at such and such time when you are accompanying me, and I'm okay with, maybe being on a harness or being on a leash or being open, but only in a certain area or, in a certain space. So you can negotiate, you can talk to your animals and reach, a space of understanding which benefits both the human and the animal.
Love this. I love the part where you're saying we can sit and negotiate. Like, I wish I was doing
Yeah,
that.
I've negotiated with a cat who refused to be neutered for nearly 5 years of his lifetime, until we said that, what, we can't really let you be intact because your human is moving away and you're going to be in an apartment. You're not going to be an indoor and outdoor cat. So you have two choices. Either you continue to live in your existing surroundings, but you're on your own, or you continue to move along with your human, but you're neutered and you're going to be completely an indoor cat. So you've got to offer your animal choices and let the animal decide which choice they would like to go in for.
Right. But you think it's not something that is primarily so I feel that what you're trying to say is that you prepare your pet for whatever decision you're making.
Yes.
consent. We'll come back to that. It's important. You're not just forcing it on them. And I like the word negotiating. I wish I was on the upper hand, but I think the pets are on the upper hand here. But yeah, I think I understand where that's coming from. So you feel it's just anything, whether good or bad, it's all about conversation that you make with a pet.
Yes, it's all about negotiating. It also depends on the kind of connect you have along with the animal. So I'll give you an example. I was fostering this cat that I picked up from the road, must have been about 14 years old with a terrible growth in the ear. And I knew that it was cancerous. And eventually the cat is just going to pass by and I can just keep the cat as comfortable as possible. And I was also really busy those days. So I would leave very early in the morning and come back pretty late in the night, and my folks would tell me that, you know what, Malaika, the cat just comes out when it needs to be fed, otherwise it's under the bed. The cat would come out only when I would come out and, climb onto me, sink his claws into my chest and paw away, because the animal just knew, okay, this is the human who's responsible for getting me at home and for looking after my needs. So it's very interesting. You've got to make that conversation along with the animal. And I offered the animal a choice. I said, listen, I'm sorry that I'm not there all day at home, but this is the best that I can do, considering we kept you in a veterinarian's clinic and you would be alone for, all throughout the night and during weekends. So this is what the cat chose. The cat chose to be with me, despite the fact that I'm not going to be there all day, but the needs are going to be looked after.
That's nice. Ajay, are you trying to say something because you're on mute? No? Oh, okay. Sorry. Right. So I'll take the next question to Rachita. Thanks, Malaika. That was insightful because I think, yeah, that's true. We need to give our pets choices. It comes from their consent. So moving to you, Rachita, while we're discussing about going to the veterinarian, having all of these conversations around, be it for sickness or be it for neutering, uh, one, I want to ask, how much do you think diet plays a role in the recovery when it comes to any kind of and behavior? Two, a lot of times I've heard that they are not meeting their nutrition. I mean, I'll give you example. I mean, though I don't have a cat, but my dog would end up eating walls, and the veterinarian said that he's missing out on calcium that he requires. Right. So, what are these signs that you can say in a cat that could know that, okay, this is not a behavioral issue but more of a nutrition based issue? Two, when they are going through maybe some kind of a sickness, what is the kind of food that would require? Because I mean, in between, though I do study about dogs, I understand, we could give them khichdi or we could give them things like this which are okay, but cats I feel are more specific to what has to be given and not just home human foods that we generally plunge into. So yeah, please, if you could.
So with cats, the predominant thing to remember is that they are obligate carnivores, meaning that they cannot process carbs beyond a point. The maximum amount of carb content that can be a part of a cat's diet is 5 to say maximum 10%. In fact, even if you're trying that, like if, for example, the go-to for most dog parents, say for a dog with an upset tummy, would be curd rice or would be khichdi with a little bit of curd. But the thing is that with cats, you can't do that because in the long run, it can create other issues like feeding them too much carbs can result in diabetes, or feeding, and there are certain illnesses, like for example, cats are prone to kidney disease, whether whichever way you look at it. One of the main reasons for that is, uh, honestly, one is the nature of the food. They tend to want to eat dry food because they are adapted, animals that are adapted to live in the desert, their thirst drive is very, very low. So if you're expecting a cat to go and drink water, no, most likely, more often than not, they don't. Their water intake mostly comes either from their diet or it comes from the digestive process. When any food that they eat, when it's broken down in the body, there is certain amount of water that is released. So they get all of their hydration from these two things. And so even when you're looking at recovery post illnesses or post surgery, yes, food plays a very important role. In the overall scheme of things, if you're asking me, packaged versus fresh, fresh is always better. It's in human terms, it's like comparing feeding your baby Maggie and McDonald's his entire life versus feeding a proper wholesome home cooked meal. The only thing to remember here, like I already mentioned earlier, is to ensure that it's a balanced diet. So here again, maybe 10 years ago, I mean, I'm essentially more of a dog person. I've had dogs my entire life, but even now, when I think back, my dog 20 years ago, things were very different. We fed her differently. And if I look at my babies today, it's completely different. Being a cat parent probably 10 or 15 years ago is a completely different ballgame to being a cat parent today. So we do have the luxury of having so many experts very specialized in their fields to help you out along the different aspects of that. So similarly, like you have nutritionists to help you to give you properly balanced diets, or at least give, even if you don't do a custom meal plan, but maybe Darshan, I can share with you a couple of recipes after which are at least balanced, having all the nutrition required, whether it is calcium, whether it is the correct amount of fat. So at least you know that you're feeding your cat a wholesome meal so that there are no nutrient deficiencies that happen. If you were to ask me for specific things, there are so many vitamins and minerals, and each one leads to its own share. So like calcium is just one aspect of it, but you are looking at least 15 or 20 different aspects. It's vitamins, it's minerals, it's different amino acids. Because like when we talk protein, protein is also broken down into so many different amino acids, each playing their own role. And
Right.
Especially for first time pet parents, it will be a little overwhelming to get into this kind of details. But we can, I can provide a couple generic wholesome recipes to say that, for a healthy cat, this is the kind of things to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
like a
These are the
broader structure to what should go and what shouldn't go.
absolutely,
I think Rachita, you, Malaika, and Amanda are already part of Pets of Paradise community, so you please feel free. And I think Michelle is also. You could definitely go ahead and share whatever you all have for the insights. And I think Ajay, if you are okay with WhatsApp groups, I don't mind adding you to the group as well. But if not, I'm one second. Yeah, I'll ask. But otherwise, I am happy to just get the PPT and share it on the group.
Yeah, the problem is that I'm on 100 million WhatsApp groups, so I
I
don't.
assumed so. That's why I asked.
It's very difficult for me to keep track, but if anybody has something specific that they need from me, I'll be happy to share
I'm
those.
sure they can share it on the group, the question, and we'll direct it to you, Ajay, so that
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
you're less disturbed. Okay, right now I've asked all the speakers for keep yourselves unmuted for the time being, because I'll just pick up some random questions from the chat, and then whoever can answer that, please feel free to do so. So there is my rescued cat post dog attack had premature delivery. My intuition is telling me to wait for a month to get her neutered, while the vet is saying that we can do it now as well. She is in heat. Needed as advice regarding the same.
I think I'll answer that. So if the vet is confident about doing the surgery right now, say go ahead and do the surgery. Um, Especially because if the cat delivered premature babies, there may be some placenta that's still left behind and stuff which needs to be removed along with the uterus. So the only disadvantage of neutering a cat while they're still in heat is that the bleeding is a little more during the surgery. But if this cat has already had delivered premature, I'm assuming dead kittens, then it makes sense to neuter them as soon as possible.
Okay. The next is my 1-year-old is a indoor and outdoor cat. She stays home throughout the day and disappears for 4 hours in the night. She's currently pregnant, and I wanted to ask what can I do to ensure the babies and mama are happy and healthy? Any one of you all can answer.
I think they can provide a good nesting space for the mother, feed her very, very well so that she stays comfortable and happy. And yeah, give her a quiet environment enough to kind of have a nesting space where she can deliver. Ultimately, you can pick a space, but I've seen most cats just pick an open wardrobe and they're quite happy to have their babies in there, much to our disgruntled expressions. But yeah, a cat will just maybe choose a shelf somewhere. Most cats love the dustbin cabinets because it's so cozy and so untouched, and nobody's really venturing into those cabinets, so a lot of cats prefer those kind of spaces as well.
I would also like to add, after that, please get that cat neutered.
Um, Somebody has asked that the 2-year-old Persian cat is neutered, but is still has started going out more after neutering. What could be done to change that behavior?
Right. So I'll take that. So if your cat's going out more after neutering, first of all, a lot of times we assume like it's just the first thought that my cat's trying to leave the house. That means that they're going out to mate. But that is not the only reason that cats look to go beyond the home. A lot of times you have cats that are just explorative in nature and they would like to just go outside and see things. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening there. Perhaps the home environment is a little bit more on the boring side and they would like to venture out and see what's up. Sometimes it also has to do with just in general being territorial about the space. Now behavior wise, with regards to neutering for territorial types behaviors, as Ajay has spoken about, with the male cats urinating all over the place when they are not neutered. It's not that a male or female that is not neutered or spayed will not be territorial. That's a misconception. They will still value the resources in the house, value food, water, hiding spaces, owner attention. So now that your cat has started to go out more, there's probably something else that is interesting there. So you need to see whether there are other cats, and whether there's like communication kind of going on over there. So it might be a good idea to follow your cat very quietly in the background and just see what they're doing. So that kind of narrows in a little bit about your motivation, for that house leaving behavior.
Looks like we got to be detectives now. Let's go on the hunt. Very specific question, though I do not know. How to avoid cystitis in male cats? And it's asking specifically for food. What should be done for nutrition?
Okay, so basically, like I was saying earlier, that cats are prone to a lot of different kidney diseases. So one of the main things that actually contributes to kind of reducing kidney disease in the future is a fresh food diet, because the more moisture there is in a diet, the lesser the chance of a cat developing kidney issues in the future. So the number one step for any cat in the to stop future renal problems of any nature is a good, well balanced fresh food diet.
Okay. Just a quick question, Rachita. How, say, suppose we are working and can't cook every day if we want to wish to go to a home cooked meal. Is it okay if I do batch making and I put it up there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can batch prep meals and freeze them a week at a time, going up to a fortnight with virtually no nutrient loss. If it's prepared and done correctly, all you need to do is one, have a lot of freezer space because you'll have to probably, portion out into daily servings, because that's the healthiest way to do it, because you don't want to defrost large batches and then keep them in the fridge. So ideally, if you're batch prepping, say if you're batch prepping for a week, you have 7 containers. So you portion out one per day. You can have 2 to 3 days worth of food going into the fridge, but the rest needs to go into the freezer.
Okay. Just a quick question to whoever wishes to answer. What would be the right age to get neutering done? Yeah, I think questions more regarding neutering is quite put out. But yeah, what would be the correct age for neutering?
I'd say 4 to 6 months. I know 4 months sounds a little young, but as long as your cat is over 2.5 kgs, even 4 months would be okay. I mean, if it's an outdoor cat and you don't want them to get pregnant. Otherwise, 6 months is good. for both a male and a female.
And if you wish to, how to stop my cat from entering the kitchen, they do this even after being fully fed. Are cats like dogs? Do they also keep begging for food all the time? Curious.
All
Yeah,
the
Yes, it is.
and
Okay, can I take the kitchen one? Okay. So first things first, if your cat is continuously hungry even after being fed, this is like, and I'm saying this like your cat's asking for food will consume it again, asking for food will consume it again. You do need to go to your vet. You have to check if there's anything going on there that's making your cat so hungry again, looking at what's going on. If sometimes your cat's not necessarily eating food but would likes to spend time in the kitchen, food is not the only interesting thing about a kitchen. First of all, if you're constantly pushing your cat out of the kitchen, it automatically becomes the best place to be because your owner does not want you to be there. So you want to go back. And also, like, there are a lot of interesting smells. I'm sure you get, like, the cat gets a lot of attention if they start to drop burtans, from the thing. So you need to see what is it that your cat is getting from being in the kitchen. But just as a baseline, stress-free way to deal with this is to just add in like a sliding door or just something to physically like put in your environment to block that off. Because the second you go to work, your cat's in the kitchen, and there's really nothing you can do about it in that sense. It's not something that I would recommend putting in a lot of time and effort to train. It's not something that you can't do, but it just means that you need to be present so much more, like consistently for your cat to actually learn this. So yeah, that's, if anybody else wants to add on to that.
Yeah, I'll add on to that what Amanda said. Primarily, if your cat continues to be repeatedly hungry, then one of the biggest causes of concern is that the diet that you're feeding is not nutritionally good enough for your animal, which is why your animal continues to keep coming back for more and more food. Another thing is to, of course, look at the way how you're feeding the food. You could end up giving your cat a lot of whisker fatigue with bowls instead of flat plates. Another thing is raising the food bowl so that it's not affecting the animal spine so much, and also they also have taste and texture just like us. I have so many cats in conversation with me who've told me that, I like my food at a certain temperature. I like my food in a certain way. Lots of animals have always complained to me about not really appreciating frozen, preserved meat. They like fresh, butchered meat far more than the preservative kind. So yeah, it may seem icky to us, but cats especially like their meat a little bloody sometimes. Some of them do.
but I would also like to add that there are cats who are gluttonous and they just want to eat.
Yes, that's also there.
I have an office cat. I'll show him to you before we
Yeah.
wind. Every time I walk into the kitchen, he trips anybody over because he just wants that food. So, and he throws up everything because he eats so fast. So, we try to like cut down. We count the pellets. We give him like 15 pellets at a time, and then he eats that, and then we give it to him later. That's how we have figured out how to prevent him from overeating by, limiting his food by number of pellets, and it's worked pretty well. That's something that it's a trial and error thing. It has to work with different people in different ways. So there's no like fixed solutions to everything. But that's the thing. So all of the information provided here was very helpful. So I hope this was also.
Absolutely. I mean, me as a person also, I divide my food on the whole and eat after every 2 hours. So I'm sure they can choose what they wish to have it. Okay. So if everybody, I mean, we're done with there are a lot of questions. I've just picked up a few and put it out there. The speakers, if you guys are comfortable, please share your hand rules maybe on the chat so that in case you guys wish, then they can do it. And Vinda, are you there? If you could
Yeah.
share the surprise, share screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Just till she's putting it out there, I think share screen, I'll have to let her also do it. Multiple participants can share. Oh, that's the cat. Okay.
Uh, this is Simba. He's the glutton I was talking about. He only thinks
Oh,
he gives of food all the time. He was an abandoned cat found roaming the streets, and then he was taken into a foster home, and then he fought with all the cats in that house. And he threatens every single species other than human beings that walks into this office. He's just non-tolerant of every other species, and he's a very sweet cat. He loves human company, but just hates any other animal. So that's
Wow,
him. Yeah.
He
interesting.
approves of your description of him.
I liked how that was done. Uh, to all the participants, please, this is what Vinda had to offer, and that's so sweet of her. Thank you, Vinda, so much for this. But you could go to CCC, buy whatever you wish to. I think the bag that Amanda was mentioning is also available. The carry bag is available with Vinda. So if you wish to buy, there's a 15% discount. Please go ahead. And if anything
Yes.
you wish to communicate, please put it up there on the email that she's mentioned.
So the discount code that you guys have to use is Meowjic, and I think it's high time you guys buy some Christmas gifts for your cat and for yourself also. There's lots of cool cat people merchandise as well that we've updated. So thank you guys, whoever attended, and all the speakers as well. Thank you. You guys can also obviously use this discount code. But of course, for all the people who heard and asked the questions, thank you for being there. I don't think we've answered all the questions, but I think this is great. This is very encouraging, and maybe we can do another round of it because there were so many questions that were left unanswered, or perhaps even a physical event.
Vinda, Amanda is asking you, are you doing Secret Santa this year? She wants to
Not
announce it
this
if you're
year,
doing it.
not this year, but next year for sure. We're low on resources this year.
Oh, low on resources is what she has to say.
It's a very big affair. It's so difficult to pull off this Secret Santa online on Curious Cat, but it's been the 2 years that we did it, the response is phenomenal. So maybe next year.
Right. So thank you, Vinda, for this thing. It wouldn't have been possible without you. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Malaika. Thank you, Rachita. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Michelle, for joining in. People, please, if you haven't shared, then please share your handles. People who have their numbers or they are in the group, I please tell you to not just take advantage of them being on the group and constantly asking them questions. They will reply if they wish, and if you think you need to go and have a consult, please go ahead and have your personal consult with all of them personally. Regarding the PPT from Ajay, we'll be happy to pass it on to all of you guys as soon as we receive it. Thank you all for joining in. See you all at the next
Thank you. Bye.
webinar.
Thank you, and
Bye.
hoping for a bigger and more supportive cat community.
Yes, Ajay, and we'll
Always.
do next
Yeah.
time more for the community cats as well. We are very inspired by your description that
And
we heard. So
thank
yes,
you
we
all, like because we all learn new things every day, so it's important to, exchange notes with everybody and learn new things because I learn new things about my cats every day. Like, so it's very important to just keep learning and keep sharing what we learn.
thanks, Ajay. Yes, I agree, But thank you so much, all of you guys. So yes, please join the Pets of Community WhatsApp group. And here we are. We'll be ready for another webinar soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.